Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Heroes Trek with me, your host, Samir. And I'm here to talk about another book which I really enjoyed. I know. It seems like when you see my videos, I really enjoyed everything I've read. But this, I think I've been on a winning streak. And this book continues that winning streak. And hopefully it continues with the next one after that. But before we begin, hope everyone's safe and sound and everybody's family is doing great. Just during these crazy times. It's a nice escape during quarantine and not going stir crazy at home. To read some nice comics and to enjoy them and maybe reach out and talk to your fellow fans like me. So if you want to reach out and have a good conversation about comics and maybe even the book we're talking about today, please leave some comments down below. That's right down there. And also, if you could click the thumbs up, the like button, the like button, and if you could click on that, that would be awesome. That's right here. Well, you'd have to click down there for the like button, but it looks like that. And the subscribe button, which is here somewhere down below. So, depending on where you're viewing this, let's talk about this book. So, this book itself, we're going to talk about today, is Once and Future. This book is by Boom Studios, or the publisher is Boom Studios. The book is actually created by Kieron Gillen, a name that you should know from, he's a creator of The Wicked and the Divine. He's a really good writer. Young Avengers, of course, at Marvel. Wicked Divine with Image. And the artwork is by Dan Mora. Now, Dan Mora, some of you may know, he's done work with Grant Morrison on the Claus, the take on Santa Claus that came out a little while ago. And that was fantastic. He's a great artist. Now, sometimes when artists and writers get together, there's synergy and you can feel it off the page, and sometimes there isn't. This time I can say there's a lot of synergy between the two of them. As you can see from the cover, the artwork is really detailed. I mean, really well done. And the artwork itself, because it's a big thing, right? A writer can write everything so well, but if the artist can't visualize it properly and effectively with impact, then the audience or the reader is lost, right? I mean, it kind of removes. An artist can take away and downgrade a writer's script or really elevate it into something even more than what it originally was. So happy to say Dan Mora really does a great job with this. And the artwork, his artwork reminds me of a tighter styled version of Adam or Andy Kubert, where they're a little bit more looser. He's got that kind of scratchy tone, like a way of, drawing the artwork. But it's just tighter, and you'll see some examples of it as we go through this review. So, before we go through this, I'd like to read the blurb at the back, because what is this actually about? Well, Once and Future should be a big clue as the sword on top of that. And it's interesting, right? We all love the stories of Camelot. I mean, that's something that's captivated audiences or readers and fans for decades, right? The movies, even the comic books such as Camelot 3000, right? From DC Comics. And also, The Mage by Matt Wagner. Mage by Matt Wagner was all about the Arthurian legends, right? He was supposed to be the reincarnation of King Arthur, and the Mage was, of course, Merlin, and you had the Bat, which was Excalibur. That was, and the Red Caps and all the different creatures, the questing beasts and so on. Fantastic series, by the way. As a side note, if you get a chance and you haven't read it, oh my gosh, to read Mage for the first time, a beginning, a middle, and an end. They're out collected in trade paperback by Image Comics. I believe they're still in print. There were hardcovers of the first two. There are 3 miniseries in all. The first 2 miniseries, they had hardcovers, oversized hardcovers, but they're out of print. The paperbacks are all still in print. So we love King Arthur. I love King Arthur. And it's great to see King Arthur as a hero, right? Well, when you come in this, throw all those expectations out of the window. Because a lot of times, we're talking about King Arthur. Is it myth? Is it legend? Is it a story? Is it reality? Kieron Gillen really throws this and turns the whole thing around, setting up the story in a way that even myths and stories can come to life, even if they were not 100% based in reality. Because when you go through the book, you'll see there's an other world, pun intended. So, what is this book about? The legends, the stories, they're all true. Pretty dramatic, right? When a group of nationalists uncover the fabled scabbard of Excalibur, they use its magic to bring King Arthur back from the dead and fulfill a dark prophecy. But as the floodgates open, only retired monster hunter Bridgette McGuire knows how to stop these mythic forces. pulling her unsuspecting grandson Duncan into a world he thought only existed in stories. The two embark on a quest that will force them to navigate the complex history of the McGuire family and confront the deadly secrets of Britain's past that threaten its very future. Written by New York Times bestselling author Kieron Gillen, The Wicked and the Divine, and illustrated by Russ Manning Award winner Dan Mora, Klaus, Once and Future is a modern epic adventure that challenges the way we view our mythology in the spirit of a timeless classic. So, if you're looking for King Arthur and Galahad and Lancelot and the typical, stereotypical versions of these characters where Arthur comes in with Excalibur and is the hero of the story, no. So those expectations out the window. And at first I was like, I came in with that thought, oh wow, King Arthur's coming back. That's good. He's going to be saving the country or like Britain or stuff. That's where he's coming back in its darkest hour, right? Supposed to come back. And it turns out that, that's not the case. He is resurrected. I'm not spoiling anything. However, his intentions might not be as pure as what's initially or originally been shown. When Duncan tells his grandmother, but Arthur, isn't he a good guy? And she goes, oh, you adorable boy. And she's basically like saying, So what's the story about? In a nutshell, what it's about is that it's Britain, and a scabbard for a sword, has been discovered in ruins. And this can be used to bring King Arthur or Arthur back to life. However, the story itself is not about Arthur coming back in life, and it's focused more on Duncan and his grandmother. Now, Duncan is kind of the innocent character of the book, and there's a reason for that. Where his grandmother was like a monster hunter up to the 80s, 1980s, and they used to hunt monsters. And of course, the thinking there is that the more you believe in the story, the more you shape it, the more chances of it coming to life. And that's a recurring theme throughout here. And the grandmother is quirky and at first you think really weird and strange. But as the story progresses, you realize there's a reason why she's doing this and why she's raised Duncan in such a odd way. So Duncan, the grandson, raised him, in the forest and or so, in like someplace far away from other people. He wasn't allowed to watch movies and so on. He was really sheltered, and so he's purely coming off as an innocent person in this story, at least at first. Well, actually through the whole thing. And there's an important part, a correlation between that, because there are major characters here and archetypes. And Kieron Gillen is a great writer. I mean, his run on, I believe, Darth Vader, as well as he created Dr. Aphra, in the Star Wars universe. Just really great runs. Young Avengers, Wicked and Divine, which by the way, I got the 2 hardcover set finale, which I still have to read. I'm looking forward to that. But he really turns it around and he says, well, here are the archetypes. Now, how do these characters fulfill those archetypes and then fool the characters of mythology? Might be hard, may not make any sense, but it will once you read the book. So, starts in Britain. It's, the artwork is absolutely fantastic and stunning to look at. The real world situations like this are captured really well. Dan Mora really has a good eye for detail. The colors are fantastic. I just want to mention the colors by Tamra Bonvillain. She does a great job with the colors. And the fantastic elements like this questing beast are really disturbing, with this snake head and the puppies trapped in the gut that are kind of trying to get out. And you can hear the muffled sounds of barking. But this questing beast shows up when the quest is about to begin. And that shares a lot in common with even Matt Wagner's Mage, where the quest begins. But other than that, there are no similarities. Arthur himself, not the kind of Arthur that you recognize or remember, and there's nothing heroic about this particular character. It's more of a realistic take on what he might have been like, more barbaric and warlike, not the savior or saint, kind of saintly, altruistic king that has been portrayed in a lot of popular media. I don't want to give too much of the story away, but the quest itself, involves Duncan, his grandmother, and of course another character as well. And there's a great scene here where that character, the one I showed in the pictures earlier, says, well, what is this what I am now? I'm a secretary. And the grandmother goes, oh no dear, you know James Bond, you're the man who gives Bond the missions. And she says, responds, M? I'm M? Really? Oh right, M's a she now. And then of course grandmother replies, is she? Oh good, progress. But the dialogue that Kieron Gillen writes for the grandmother is so sarcastically witty. I mean, that's the best character in the entire book. Going through the entire book, you don't know what the intentions of the grandmother are until the end. And you're just thinking to yourself, is this a cranky, insane lady, or is there's, as Kieron Gillen peels back the layers of this story onion, you realize no, that she's been through a lot, and there's a reason that she brought up Duncan the way she has. Needless to say, the Fisher King is in the book. So if you know about the Fisher King, the gateway to the Grail, and it also plays with the differences in the Arthurian legends between who found the Grail, whether it's Percival or whether it's Galahad, the son of Lancelot, of course, because there are different stories and versions out there. So this combines all of that, and the way Kieron Gillen sets it up is that these alternate versions of the story can exist. It can exist all at once, and I don't want to spoil it on how this is set up. But this is a multiple read book. You can go through it again. When you go through it again, you get even more out of it as you start to understand how Kieron Gillen has set this up for not only the Arthurian legends, King Arthur and Camelot, but also anything else, any other mythology or any kind of stories could be coming to life through this, through this not hyperspace or hypertime like what DC in the DC universe, but through this other world which is more magical. Of course, in the long story short, Arthur wants to bring the other world to the real world, but in doing so could destroy the British Isles. So it's up to Duncan, his grandmother, to really, and of course other characters, which I don't want to go into and spoil too much, but it's up to them to, and of course Rose, who's the third main character, it's up to them to save the day. Whether they actually save the day or not is questionable towards the end. Of course, this is not a complete one and done story. There's probably other issues and other parts to it, but I'm hooked. I mean, I'm really hooked on this. It's a standard size trade paperback, from Boom Studios. It retails for $16.99. But if you like anything to do with King Arthur, throw in a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, except when she's like in her 80s or so, 70s or 80s, rather than a young girl, and Monster Hunters and all of this stuff, and a little bit of James Bond kind of stuff. You'll love this book. It's really well put together, and I am waiting actually for a hardcover or an oversized hardcover because the artwork is just that good. I mean, it's just really that good. Let me see if I can show you some of this artwork. Or splash page, which really stands out, because there's just so much to choose from. Here's another version of Arthur. Not exactly awe-inspiring, so to speak. But here's of course the Excalibur, who's which is in this story. The sword is owned by the Lady of the Lake, not King Arthur himself. But fantastic artwork throughout, consistent, the same artist, Dan Mora, who does all of the 6 issues that are presented in here, and I believe it is 6 issues. Let's just confirm that. Yes. So, and there is an epilogue which really throws everything and makes everything upside down, sets up the second arc really well. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's another famous character which is noticeably absent from the beginning of this story. Nice to see that he'll be in the second arc of this book. Looking forward to the second paperback once all the other issues come out. I highly recommend Once and Future by Kieron Gillen and Dan Mora. If you're looking for something great to read and really pass the time and say, and have a satisfying read, this is the book for you. Well, I will see you real soon. Until then, please leave a comment if you agree or don't. If you like this book, if you want to go out and read this book, or you read this book after seeing this video, I'd love to hear what you think about it. Click that like button, I really need that, and subscribe because I'll be making more videos just for you, because I have fun with this. It's fun with me, and I hope it's fun for you. See you soon on the Hero Strike channel with your host, me, Samir. Take care.